It is unbelievable what has happened with Emoni Bates this season for the Cleveland Cavaliers. After all the hype, after everything we thought would happen, just has not been what Bates wanted, what Cavaliers fans wanted. Hey everybody, Billy BB back with you on Cavs Digest, talking about the ins and outs of Cavaliers basketball. Obviously at 21-4, different storylines are going to pop up for this team. Some of them are going to be in-game, front office, trades, results from certain matchups, and then storylines like what we're going to talk about today. This is why you want to subscribe, because there's going to be a lot of inner workings with this team, and if you just get common, gigantic game recaps or gigantic storylines, you're going to miss out on little things happening with the Cleveland Cavaliers. You're going to miss out on discussions within fan bases and fans of this team, what they are talking about, what they want from this team. And I think today is going to be a great example of when you are plugged in with Cavs Digest, when you are subscribed, when you are commenting, you can really feel kind of what is happening with this team and little side things that I will always want to get into. And I appreciate comments on videos like these because it lets me know what the fan base is feeling, what other Cavs fans, what other people plugged in with the Cavaliers watching, concerned and looking for with the Cavs, what they kind of think about this team as time marches on. As they have a matchup with the Wizards tonight, we're going to get in, again, to Emoni Bates and a little bit about Max Strus after that last video we made. He's out tonight. Very disappointing for the Cavaliers. We will jump into that. But, as I said, the one thing we are jumping into today is Emoni Bates. This is such an interesting story, Emoni Bates. This was the number one player in basketball, high school-wise, getting ready to go to college. Just before COVID, and things just kind of got derailed. You know, if you deep dive into it, it's some attitude stuff, it's some situational stuff, it's some trouble, it's some best fit things. A guy that was meant to go to Michigan State went to Memphis. The Penny Hardaway, James Wiseman, that little stretch. He went to Memphis super early. I believe he was still 17 years old when he got to Memphis, and at that point, it was like, okay, well, he's going to kind of fade away because he couldn't play very much because he's just so young. And then he ends up having to transfer to Eastern Michigan, where, he plays really, really well, 19-plus points per game, some highlight moments, but it's Eastern Michigan. The opponents are not great, and his team was terrible. Not many wins there. No tournament wins, no tournament appearances, no conference victories. I mean, really just falling by the wayside. Strictly drafted by the hype he had, pre-college. He had LeBron James at Nike camp saying, this is the best player at this camp. This is the best player, so on and so forth. So, obviously, the Cavaliers take a chance on him. Very raw. We knew that would be the case, right? We knew that he would be really, really raw as a player, and I think we saw that. Now, we also saw him have some moments. He had some huge G League games last year, and for me, I'm a gigantic fan of what was the Canton Charge, I guess now is the Cleveland Charge. They have developed some guys to a high level, some really raw players, some players that probably weren't going to get to the NBA, would have shifted around a million times, planted with the Charge, took their time, developed, and ended up making it to the NBA as good players, which is why I was so excited for Emoni Bates. They already had done it for Craig Porter. He developed, jumped, and looked good. Joe Harris, Quinn Cook, Dean Wade might be the most successful Canton Charge player start to finish. I know Joe Harris is good, but he's a spot-up shooter. I mean, Dean Wade's a shooter, a defender, all-around benefitter to this team multiple times. The Cavaliers have lost games, and the narrative was if they had had Dean Wade, they would have won. So I was excited for Emoni Bates to get in there and to have his up-and-down moments. Obviously, he got a little bit of time towards the end of the year for the Cavaliers, and then he's been on the bench kind of supporting them along with that awesome G League championship team last year with Pete Nance and Craig Porter and Emoni Bates and I'm forgetting some names, but they won a G League championship last year. Fast forwarding to this year, a lot of high hopes for Emoni Bates. They didn't win much in that G League team. We thought maybe they could go back-to-back. We were really hyping that up as they had added that big dude from the tournament. I'm forgetting his name. DJ Burns, right? Added him, and you thought that G League team was really going to pop. It was going to be led by Bates. And then you get to NBA Media Day. And they did okay. They did not win the back-to-back title in the NBA Summer League. And then you get to NBA Media Day, and I think that's when the hype for Emoni Bates really started. They said he had gained 35 pounds of muscle from year 1 to year 2, and it definitely showed. And this was the biggest thing, right? Is you thought, wow, he's filled out. He looks like an NBA player. And you're really, really excited for him. Emoni Bates looked bigger. He kind of had a little bit of hype to him. The Cavaliers obviously were going to need, at this point they had ones. You really didn't know what they were. So you thought Bates could have a role. You thought he could be like a six-man or just a microwave scorer for them. And, he ends up having this little good summer league. Solid about what we thought it would be, and a little bit of here and there with the assists and rebounding, but, high-level scorer as we thought. And then the injury to him. I believe it was a torn meniscus to start the year, and it was just a giant plop. It was just a gigantic, right away, all this hype, all this talk about him. Not that we thought he would be like Karis LeVert, or that he would be averaging 15 for the Cavs, but you thought this would be the next great development piece. While the Cavaliers are winning, they've got this piece building. He's with the Charge, a program that's played really, really good basketball and developed guys into NBA players, and then bam, hits the floor with this injury. It was almost similar to Max Strus. They got hurt about the same time, and I don't fault guys too much for injury. I'm just saying this is a moment where it was extremely disappointing for Emoni Bates. That this season was another disappointment for him, because this would have been his G League jump season. He would have been, a step forward, a 25 point per game guy, some notes here or there for him, and yet he's been sitting the bench at Cavs games because you can do that when you were on the roster at one point, then you're sitting on the bench, and then they didn't know to send him down or where to, so he's with the Cavs, but at the same time, once he gets back, he should be going to the Charge. And it looks like he'll be back soon. So I'm interested to see what Emoni Bates brings. I just think at this point in time, there is no role for Emoni Bates in the 2024 season. Not just on the Cavaliers, but concerned about his development, looking at what he's doing in the G League. Can't worry about it. I just think it's not going to be there. There's not going to be much interest there in this 2024 season. And I really just can't believe it's happened. I thought we were going to see a big year from him in the G League and some moments from him in the NBA, and it looks like we're going to get neither, honestly, by the end of the year. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Was this disappointing for you with Emoni Bates? I know the Cavaliers have been winning, so maybe nobody's really cared. Maybe you still have high hopes for him. What do you think about Emoni Bates? This is a guy that in 2 or 3 years starts for the Cavaliers, is a microwave scorer, a six-man takes over for Karis LeVert. I think it's possible. But again, for this year, I think there's nothing there for Emoni Bates. One more note before we finish. All that hype for Max Strus, and it looks like he's not going to play against the Washington Wizards. Again, I try not to get too riled up about injuries because I know they're tough for these guys and it's a long season and whatnot, but it's also an eye roll, right? I know Cavs fans, it's a little bit of an eye roll, great, all right, deal with the injuries, not ready to come back. Of course not, and like I said, longer than it always should be. That's what it's going to be with Strus and the Cavaliers. But the Emoni Bates situation, drop down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to Cavs Digest.